Sometimes, the weight we carry isn't from the things we hold, but from the connections we struggle to release. This simple truth is at the heart of today's topic: how to detach from people and situations that no longer serve our well-being. It's about more than just saying goodbye. It's about making space for new growth, peace, and self-discovery. As we dive into this journey together, we'll explore how the timeless wisdom of Stoicism can guide us through these often painful but ultimately liberating decisions. Whether it's a toxic friend, a dead-end job, or a lingering bad habit, learning to let go is an empowering skill that reclaims energy and redirects it towards building the life you truly deserve. Stick around and let's uncover the subtle art of detachment, reshaping our connections to forge a path that leads us not just towards surviving, but thriving. If you appreciate the insights we're sharing here, the simplest favor you can do for us is hit the subscribe button and share this video with someone who could benefit from it. Let's get started. Step away temporarily. Our first step in the journey of detachment is quite intuitive yet profoundly effective: stepping away temporarily. Think of it as hitting the pause button on a music player. Just as a brief interlude in a song gives us a moment to appreciate the melody, stepping back from a person or situation offers us a fresh perspective that's often obscured when we're too close to the chaos. Why is this temporary distance so crucial? It's about clarity. When we're caught up in the heat of the moment, our emotions can cloud our judgment, making it difficult to see the situation for what it really is. By creating some physical and emotional space, we give ourselves the opportunity to cool down, reassess, and respond with a clearer mind. This isn't about running away from problems, but about addressing them more effectively. During this time apart, it's essential to reflect on the nature of your interactions and the feelings they evoke. Are these reactions justified? Are they proportional to the situation? Sometimes, when we step back, we realize that our responses are more about past grievances or accumulated stress, rather than the immediate issue at hand. This realization alone can be incredibly liberating. Moreover, this pause allows us to consult our inner Stoic guide. Stoicism teaches us that our power lies not in altering the external events of our lives, but in controlling our reactions to them. When we step away, we're not just escaping the turmoil, we're taking the time to strengthen our inner fortress, to ensure that when we return to the situation, we're not just reacting impulsively, but acting with deliberate, rational thought. So, how do we effectively step away? It doesn't always mean taking a drastic break or cutting off communication. It can be as simple as taking a deep breath during a heated discussion, opting to respond to an email later rather than immediately, or choosing to spend a day alone to gather our thoughts. The key is to recognize when the emotional noise gets too loud and to give ourselves the permission to seek quiet, even if just for a moment. Assess the relationship. The second step in our journey of detachment is to assess the relationship, a step that requires both honesty and courage. It's about taking a hard look at our interactions and asking ourselves some tough questions. Is this relationship nurturing my growth or hindering it? Am I better or worse off because of this connection? These are not easy questions, and they often require us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves and others. In assessing any relationship, Stoicism teaches us to prioritize virtue and personal well-being. It encourages us to consider whether the people in our lives are contributing to our moral and emotional development or detracting from it. This isn't just about judging others, it's about reflecting on the mutual benefit of the relationship. Are we being the best we can be in this relationship? And are we allowing the other person the same opportunity? Sometimes we might find that certain relationships, even long-standing ones, have become more about convenience or habit than about positive influence. This realization can be particularly challenging when the bonds are with close friends or family members. However, the Stoic approach isn't about cutting people off with cold indifference, but about redefining those relationships in ways that are healthier for both parties involved. For instance, if a friendship has turned competitive or a family relationship is overly critical, it might be necessary to redefine the boundaries and interactions within these relationships. This might mean having open and honest conversations about needs and expectations, or it might involve choosing to engage in a different manner that protects your emotional space. Furthermore, this step is not about making swift decisions or immediate changes. Often it's about gradual shifts and ongoing adjustments as both people grow and evolve. The goal is always harmony and understanding, aligned with the Stoic ideal of living in accordance with nature, which includes our nature as social beings. Assessing our relationships through a Stoic lens empowers us to make thoughtful choices about who we allow into our inner circle, the sacred space where our spirits either soar or get weighed down. This evaluation helps us foster connections that are truly enriching and discard patterns that perpetuate negativity. By doing so, we not only enhance our own lives, but potentially provide a catalyst for others to reflect on their personal growth and emotional health as well. Seek advice from trusted individuals. This step is crucial because, despite our best efforts to see things clearly, we're all subject to our own biases and blind spots. Reaching out to someone we trust, a mentor, a close friend, or even a family member who understands our values, can provide fresh perspectives that we might miss on our own. Stoicism holds the concept of the philosophical friend in high regard. These are not just any friends, they are the ones who challenge us to grow, who aren't afraid to tell us the hard truths, and who genuinely desire the best for us. They act as mirrors, reflecting our true selves back to us, not just what we want to see. In the process of detachment, these individuals can help us navigate our emotions and decisions more effectively. They can remind us of our commitment to living a virtuous life, even when it's tempting to act on impulse or out of frustration. But why exactly is this step so important? Consider the times you've been overwhelmed or emotionally charged. In those moments, your capacity for rational thought might be compromised. A trusted advisor can help stabilize your thoughts and offer a calm, reasoned perspective. They can help dissect the situation, breaking it down into manageable parts and suggesting practical steps forward that remain true to your Stoic ideals. Moreover, this dialogue with someone who understands and shares your philosophical outlook can be incredibly reaffirming. It's not just about getting advice on a specific issue, it's also about reconnecting with your core beliefs and values. These conversations can reinforce your sense of purpose and strengthen your resolve to handle challenges in a manner that is both wise and compassionate. In practical terms, seeking advice might mean setting up a regular coffee date with a mentor, joining a discussion group that focuses on Stoic practices, or even participating in forums and online communities where philosophical dialogues take place. Whatever the format, the goal is to ensure that you're not isolating yourself with your challenges. Stoicism, after all, teaches us that while we must be self-reliant, we are also inherently social beings, and sharing our journey enriches both our experiences and those of the people around us. This step of seeking advice is not about relinquishing our decision-making power, but about enriching it with collective wisdom. By opening ourselves to the insights of others, we pave the way for more balanced and thoughtful approaches to any problems we face, ensuring that our path to detachment is as informed and as enlightened as possible. Establish emotional boundaries. In our journey of detachment guided by Stoic principles, The fourth step is crucial and transformative: establishing emotional boundaries. This is where we learn not just to react to the world around us, but to respond with intention and wisdom. Establishing emotional boundaries means deciding not just who we let into our lives, but how deep we allow them to reach. It's about creating a protective space around our emotional well-being that helps us interact with others in a healthy, balanced way. Think about emotional boundaries as setting the rules of engagement for your feelings. In practical terms, this might mean recognizing when a conversation is no longer constructive and choosing to step back, or identifying situations that trigger negative emotions and learning to approach them differently. It's not about building walls or shutting people out, but about knowing where your emotional territory begins and ends, and guarding that space with gentle but firm resolve. Why is this so important? Because without these boundaries, it's easy to become overwhelmed, to lose sight of where others' emotions end and ours begin. Stoicism teaches us that while we cannot control what others say or do, we can control our reactions. Emotional boundaries help us to practice this by allowing us to pause and choose our responses instead of being swept up by immediate feelings. They empower us to remain calm and composed, even in the face of provocation or emotional chaos. Moreover, setting these boundaries is deeply empowering. It's a declaration that you value your inner peace enough to protect it. This doesn't mean you stop caring about others. Rather, it means you start responding rather than reacting. You engage with compassion and clarity rather than letting your emotions dictate your actions. This shift not only enhances your interactions, but also leads to deeper self-respect and self-awareness. To establish these boundaries effectively, it's essential to first understand your emotional triggers and vulnerabilities. Reflect on past experiences. What types of interactions leave you feeling drained, upset, or out of control? Use this awareness to start setting limits that prevent such situations. For example, if you know that certain topics of conversation lead to anger or anxiety, you might decide in advance how to handle such discussions constructively, or choose to avoid them where possible. Remember, the aim of establishing emotional boundaries is not to detach from emotions, but to create a space where emotions do not overrun your stoic pursuit of tranquility and reason. As you practice this, you'll find that you can engage more fully and authentically in your relationships, because you're interacting from a place of strength and stability, not from vulnerability and reactivity. Consider the consequences of distancing. In Stoicism, the emphasis is often on rationality and virtue, which requires us to look beyond the present moment and weigh our decisions against the backdrop of their future impact. When we think about distancing ourselves from someone or something, it's crucial to ask, what will I gain from this distance? What might I lose? These questions aren't just practical, they're deeply philosophical, forcing us to confront our values and priorities. For instance, distancing might bring immediate relief from stress or conflict, but it could also lead to regret or a sense of loss if not carefully considered. It might mean fewer arguments in the short term, but could result in lost connections or opportunities for growth in the long term. The Stoic approach would have us reflect deeply on these outcomes, ensuring that our decision to distance ourselves aligns with our broader life goals and the pursuit of eudaimonia, flourishing through living virtuously. Moreover, considering the consequences of our actions is fundamentally about responsibility. It's acknowledging that our choices affect more than just our own lives. They ripple out to touch others. This step requires us to think about our responsibilities towards others and whether our actions will lead to harmony or discord. Will distancing help all involved to grow and find peace, or will it simply push unresolved issues onto a future date? This consideration isn't just about avoiding negative outcomes, but also about fostering positive ones. Sometimes, creating distance can be the most compassionate thing we can do for ourselves and for others. It can provide the space necessary for everyone to reflect, recalibrate, and perhaps approach their interactions with greater maturity and understanding in the future. In practice, this step might involve journaling about potential outcomes, discussing them with a trusted friend, or even seeking professional advice. The key is to move slowly and with intention, fully aware of the weight of our choices. It's not about being fearful of making decisions, but about making them with a full heart and a clear mind, confident that we are acting not just for today, but for our future selves and the kind of life we want to lead. By carefully considering the consequences of distancing, we honor the Stoic principle of living with foresight and wisdom, ensuring that our decisions contribute to a life that is not only peaceful, but also principled and purposeful. Take a break from social media. In today's digital age, we are bombarded by a constant stream of information, opinions, and comparisons that can overwhelm our senses and cloud our judgment. The Stoic practice of maintaining inner tranquility is particularly challenged by the hyper-connected nature of our lives, making it essential to occasionally step back and reassess our engagement with digital platforms. Why take a break from social media? Consider the nature of these platforms. They are designed to capture and hold our attention, often at the cost of our peace of mind. They can be a source of significant distraction, pulling our focus from more meaningful pursuits and impacting our emotional well-being. Social media can also skew our perception of reality, presenting an edited version of life that emphasizes highs and minimizes lows, leading to unfair comparisons and dissatisfaction with our own lives. Taking a break allows us to reset our expectations and regain perspective on what truly matters. It's about reconnecting with the real world and engaging with it directly, rather than through the filtered lens of social media feeds. This can mean more time spent in face-to-face interactions, pursuing hobbies, or simply being in the moment, all of which are essential for a Stoic life that values authentic experiences over perceived ones. Moreover, a social media detox can help reinforce our Stoic resolve by reducing the noise that disrupts our ability to think clearly and act according to our principles. It's about exercising control over our impulses to check notifications or scroll endlessly, a practice in self-discipline that can strengthen our mental resilience. It helps us cultivate a sense of apatheia, the Stoic concept of equanimity in the face of external stimuli, by removing ourselves from the constant barrage of triggers that social media can present. How does one effectively take a break? It doesn't have to be a dramatic disconnection or a complete withdrawal. It could be as simple as setting specific times of day when you check social media, limiting yourself to certain days of the week, or even deciding to engage only with certain positive or educational content. The key is setting boundaries that respect your mental space and time, ensuring that your engagement is intentional rather than habitual. In embracing this step, we not only reclaim our time and mental space, but also align our daily habits with our larger Stoic goals of living a virtuous, meaningful life. By periodically stepping away from social media, we can ensure that when we do engage, it's on our terms and in ways that enrich, rather than detract from our journey towards personal excellence and tranquility. Focus on personal needs. The final step in our Stoic approach to detachment is to focus on our personal needs, a step that brings us back to the core of Stoic philosophy, focusing on what we can control and letting go of what we cannot. This involves a deep reflection on our true needs versus our wants, distinguishing between what is essential for our well-being and what is merely desirable. Focusing on personal needs is not about selfishness. Rather, it's about self-preservation and self-improvement. It's recognizing that to be of service to others and to live a virtuous life, we must first ensure that our fundamental needs are met. These needs are not just physical, such as food, water, and shelter, but also emotional and psychological, including peace, stability, and growth. In practice, this means making deliberate choices that align with our inner values and contribute to our long-term happiness and resilience. For instance, it might involve prioritizing tasks and relationships that nurture our growth and saying no to those that drain our energy without providing meaningful returns. It's about allocating our time and energy wisely, ensuring that we invest in areas that bring us closer to the ideal Stoic life of harmony and contentment. Moreover, focusing on personal needs requires us to be mindful of our limits and to recognize when we are spreading ourselves too thin. The Stoic principle of self-sufficiency isn't about isolation, but about understanding and maintaining our capacity for engagement without compromising our tranquility. It teaches us that true contentment comes not from external accolades or achievements, but from living in accordance with nature, our own nature, and the nature of the world around us. Additionally, this step encourages us to practice self-reflection regularly. By examining our lives through the lens of Stoicism, we can identify what truly matters to us, what helps us flourish, and what holds us back. This ongoing process of self-assessment helps us make adjustments in our lives that are in line with our philosophical beliefs, ensuring that our actions are always guided by our principles. In embracing this focused approach, we not only enhance our own lives, but also set a foundation for healthier interactions with others. When we are clear and fulfilled in our own lives, we can engage with others in a way that is positive and productive rather than reactive or resentful. By focusing on our personal needs, we build a life that is not only satisfying in the present, but also sustainable and enriching in the long run. Thank you for joining us today as we explored the Stoic approach to detachment. Remember, the journey toward inner tranquility and personal growth is not about distancing ourselves from life, but engaging with it more meaningfully on our own terms. We hope these steps inspire you to reflect, choose, and act with wisdom and courage. If you found this guide helpful and are looking for more insights into living a Stoic life, please check out our suggested video here on the screen. Dive deeper into the world of Stoicism and continue to grow with us. Thank you for being a part of the Stoic Journal. Until next time, keep seeking the wisdom that leads to peace, and remember, the path to a fulfilled life is always within your control.